Yeah, good. So that would be, yeah, interesting to see the point of maybe you have from different practices. What is polarities for you? Like polarity work. There is also polarity therapy. I know for this kind of energy, craniosacral. I don't know, kind of energy work. I know from 60s, but what many people work with polarities. Taoism, Qigong will work with polarities, and I know you have experience in that, like with Qigong and
Hmm.
maybe North America training. You know, you are working with the Dancing Thunder also, and how these people, how Indians, North American Indians work with the polarities. For example, like what would be your kind of yeah, worldview to work with polarities? Maybe out of the box of somatic movement, but like you as a practitioner of many things.
Yeah, I mean, to make it very simple, one of the first polarity that we experience as human being is that we have an inside and we have an outside.
Yeah.
So there is something that's inside me that I can witness, that I can discover, that I can pay attention to,
Yeah.
and there is something that I'm participating outside of me. And so
Mhm.
these are polarities because they are totally different. They are totally they originate in a different world.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have the same origin, although most probably what's surrounding my inside and my outside is oneness.
Yeah.
But yet the division that I have an inside and there is an outside is a polarity.
Yeah.
And some I don't know if that's true, but that could already be a building block for the masculine and the feminine,
Okay.
which are the building block of what the biological building blocks for making a human being. You need to have um, a male and a female human animal in order to create a third being. That's how we duplicate ourselves.
Mm.
And that's different from the cellular, for instance. We can duplicate,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, so then the yin and the yang. So I cannot, I don't have an extensive knowledge about that. I
Yes.
just understand it. I just experience the yin and yang or those polarity that are for me, they just are perspective that are totally different, that they cannot know um, um, they need to have an opposition, not an opposition. An opposition can be an opposition, or it can be a complement in order to
Mm.
activate their potential. Like
Yeah.
if you just have one polarity, it's kind
Yes.
of it doesn't have movement.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
kind of isolated um, concentration of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't go anywhere, doesn't have any movement.
Yeah.
When you have the exact opposite of that, the exact complement of that, then
Mm-hmm.
movement can start to happen. And so a lot of what we do in energy work is actually to create movement around those
Mm-hmm.
fundamental source of energies. And for me, they are very linked to the fabric of the universe, whether it's electromagnetic polarities, whether it's electricity, it's very it's physics
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So it's not psychological. It
Yeah.
doesn't have a, this component of it's not an interpretation of,
Yeah.
when you have two polarities, a plus and a minus.
Yeah.
There's no psychology around that. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
pure physics.
Yeah.
And I think it comes to that. And for us, we are experiencing these polarities through the physical level, through the emotional level, through the mental level, and through the spiritual level. So
mm,
it's kind of how do we experience that on all these levels?
mm,
And that creates, of course, all kind of situation and all kind of stories and myth
mm,
and and many things like um, narrative, because we create narrative, we create stories as human beings, so we kind of create something around those. Um,
mm,
and but one last thing I can share, because I'm working on this right now,
mm.
and that comes to the conversation we had, and maybe that you want to also speak further about the masculine and the feminine.
Yeah.
When I was born, I mean, very, very, very early in my childhood, when I was probably 4 years old, 3, 4 years old, when I was talking to myself, so the inner part was a feminine part.
Mm,
It was my I am was she
mm,
has,
mm,
and I didn't know what it was. It was just that. It was just that. It was just a
mm.
sense that I was a female, and I asked my
Yeah.
mother. I just didn't ask, but I remember that I said to my mother, "Oh, I know it's going to be very painful when I will have children." And I was like
Okay.
4 or 5, years old, and of course she looked at me and she was like, "I don't think
Uh,
it's going to happen for you because you're a boy." And so, and I'm making I'm writing a text that's going to be a performance, and it
mm,
speaks about this double kind of identity that I was born with. I was
yeah.
born with that. So and it comes with the gender debate and the gender, big topic at the moment, whether when you have that particular sense of self that oriented towards masculine or feminine in a different body, that's where now it's a lot of conversation and lots of tension
Yeah.
around
It is.
this topic. And for me, I can only speak about my own experience, which was a huge struggle between those two parts, the feminine and the masculine, because
Mm,
they couldn't be recognized by the outside.
mm-hmm.
They were shamed. They were, there was something that needed to shift if I wanted to socially and mentally and probably emotionally and everything kind of be together. I needed to kind of choose or just keep one kind of identity. So
Yeah.
that doesn't solve the situation. But
Yeah.
what I learned now, 50 years later, is that um, spiritually we are not bounded to a masculine or feminine
Yeah.
identity. We are not
Yeah.
bounded to any identities, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can be anything.
Yeah.
And that's what I experienced also in my spiritual discoveries. Like I can shapeshift into a worm or a dragon, and
Yeah.
that's very known in traditional culture.
Yeah.
It's, the shaman, and they all do that. They just shift identities and they become something else.
Mm,
So so what I mean is like this, and of course we all human beings have these these double identities. You have a feminine part of energy and a masculine part of energy,
yeah.
and then you're a man and you're a father, and there are many different things that will create your experience as this particular oriented polarity.
Mm,
And for me, which is very unfortunate, but I know that now that my path in this life was to experience these two things in order to get both perspective. And
mm,
and that create a very specific, not particularly easy path,
mm,
but a very interesting context or framework to approach many things that we do now, or what I do now,
Yeah.
in terms of um, evolving, evolving a human being, get, moving out of this deep um, battle and fight and cultural bond that get
Mhm.
that just keep the masculine and the feminine like polarities that are fighting rather than creating something new.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the planet is doing, or maybe the
Mm.
universe. I don't know. It's like we need to create a new world, a new reality, but then we don't know yet. We don't have the two polarities that can create that, or the forces, I would say, maybe not even
Mm.
polarity, coherent enough so they can do that. So we need to be able, that's why this conversation around polarities is so important. And that's why there is
Mm.
so much things going on right now in the
Yeah.
States, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, like
Yeah.
how can it be? But it's so revealing.
Yeah.
And we need to have those forces ready so we can move, a new world. We can born a new world. A new world can be born, sorry.
Yeah.
So that's what I can just share like quickly like that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for very open sharing of your inner life. So how it is now? Like, if I can be more open with the question, when you do your inner dialogue now, like in your practice in meditation or insights, how do you talk with yourself? What is it? It is more like he or she. I don't know if it is a really appropriate question to have, because I didn't have this experience from my childhood. I didn't have that experience to have a certain conflict, or maybe, I don't know if it's the right to say conflict, but just experience. But I know there is, for sure, there is inner dialogue of identity. Sometimes we talk in different languages. We did interview together, and we were talking about different languages in our head,
Yes.
French and English, and so sometimes I speak English in my head, and sometimes Slovak, and sometimes even Czech. When I'm in Czech Republic, like it goes on. But many times I speak to myself in English when I'm thinking of certain things.
Yeah.
So certain, if I'm in certain dimension, I switch to English sometimes. And in Slovak, I speak to myself in Slovak. But maybe it could be the case also for some people when they speak more in the as a he in certain dimension, and as a she in certain dimension. Is
Yeah.
it something you would like to maybe share? Like, is it something you switch?
I think you just said it. I think you just said it. It depends on the context.
Yeah, sure.
The context is creating that relationship
Yeah.
with identity. So,
Mm.
this whole thing with saying hi, I am as a she really happened when I was a child, and
Yeah.
until when I get when I was a teenager, then that started to really shift already because as I said, like if I would have, for instance, if I would have be born in a Native American, North American tribe, or maybe somewhere in the world, I just know that that was happening there. Probably the tribe would have recognized me as a two-spirit.
Yeah. Okay.
That because that's common in the culture. So the grandmother usually would recognize that boy or that girl as a two-spirit, meaning that she hold or he holds these polarities as one. And then usually I would have a specific function, which
Okay.
is often to understand and make a link between men and women, for instance, so kind of counseling, couples or things like that. That's what the roles,
Mm.
and specific rituals and things like that. So I didn't have any of that. In Of course, I was born in a French culture, so for me that the feminine part was just a shame and was embarrassing for my surrounding, for my parents, for everyone, and feeling that, of course, you have to shut it down.
Mm.
So it kind of it shut it down, and so it's not there. But I still can experience that in certain context. For instance, when I tune into, and that's part of my past, when I started to recognize that I could open my system to a larger field and then to feel another consciousness or to embody another consciousness, that what happened when you're channeling, for instance, and or when you incorporate a spirit in Brazil. They do this a lot. You have these healers and the mediums, and then they incorporate an entity, and the entity can be male or female.
Mm.
It doesn't matter, the
Yeah,
body and the entity. And
yeah,
so in this context, you can really feel the for instance, when it comes, many people talk about the Virgin Mary, or
all right.
this type of feminine energy, and that's very clear. And you're totally feminine in that you feel totally feminine in this energy, but it's just a resonance. You're
Yeah,
not becoming the Virgin Mary. you know you're just
yeah,
tuning to it, and then you feel like it, and it's the same
yeah,
thing. And when and for instance, when I'm working, something really interesting that happened also. I work with babies a lot, and there is something also, and I love that there is like a French um, uh, psychotherapist, but a specialist from early childhood. He really speaks that the man has to find their motherhood within in order to interact with a child. And
yeah,
that's very interesting, because for me that's totally clear. Although I can totally embody a male energy with a kid, but there is something that shift.
yeah,
There is a sense of protection. There is a sense of a motherhood, I would say, energy that comes with it. And that just happened naturally for me, but I was so pleased to read it in a kind of art, a kind of published article.
yeah,
And that's really interesting to see also, that when you work with these young children, you really have to shift. Of course, you can. I've been working with dad, for instance, with dad and their kids, and sometimes they don't know. It's almost like there is this motherhood component is missing. They don't know where to find it in themselves. So they're a bit like, they don't know how to touch, they don't know how to hold, really. They just want to do
mm,
something, interact something, but they are just kind of jumping around and trying to
mm,
to activate the kid, and the child just kind of can play a little bit, but it's not gonna um, it's not gonna match the the full expression of what the kids would need. It will need everything. It will need the holding, the touching, the deep connection, the visual connection, the voice connection. When I speak with my,
mm,
my with those kids, my voice goes really like, oh no, 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 and goes in all kind of ways. That's the
yeah, yeah,
prosodic kind of, and that's very important, because the
yeah,
kids, they don't they don't understand your word. They understand your energy. They understand the
yeah,
quality of how you relate to them, and how you can bring them safety and a sense of expression of the fullness of your emotion.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
how they can recognize their own emotion through
mm,
through the adult emotions. So here again, the context make you shift, because I don't speak like that when I'm
yeah,
I don't behave like that. So my behavior, it's totally depending on the context. And
yeah,
so it comes to this shift of identities. So, and it comes to that our identities, even though we are male or female biologically, is shifting. It's not a
yeah,
fixed point.
yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you for that. And I think we all have it, right? We all have it inside in a
Of
certain
course.
way. That it's so natural. Just we are kind of it's part of our personality from the childhood that some boys are more. more masculine like or more sensitive like. There's this also saying, oh, there's the name for man, gentleman, right?
Yeah.
And there's something gentle in men. And I know from many mothers that boys are very, very prone to be held or to be touched, and they're super soft. And later they're supposed to be super strong and protective, and and girls opposite, they're not so, they don't have such need maybe to be touched, and they're more independent from the childhood, and then opposite, later they need to be held a lot in their life. And this is what I read in the I think Chinese tradition, that in I think Taoist tradition, that this what makes sense to me a lot, that men are yang from the outside and yin from the inside,
Mhm.
and female are more yin from outside. They're more gentle, more different hair and features and so on, but yang from the inside. And it makes a lot of sense how we behave many times, and how the culture doesn't support that many times, that from the childhood, that boys should be more strong and wild and independent, and fathers and mothers a lot, they push boys too much sometimes, too early. Maybe it's time for that later. But also girls, maybe they are really attracted to be more wild, and maybe a little bit of violence, to have to have fun outside, to be as a boys. But they are not allowed to do that, because they should be more pink and to have different hair. They should behave as a norm, what female means. And this is what I see many times, that also I share with my colleagues who do craniosacral therapy. Female, my friend, who she is doing craniosacral therapy, and she was really humbled by few experiences with men, that how men experience their sensitivity during cranio, and her mindset was like, man doesn't feel much. No, man doesn't feel much. They're more like strong and holding and working hard and everything. And these men, they were working hard as in a repairing the cars or building the buildings, and they were strong men and everything. But they've got pains here and there, so they went for craniosacral therapy treatment, and that they were doing this session and stuff. And then she asked them, "Did you feel this and that?" And they said, "Yes, sure. I always felt it, you know." But and she was like, "Really?" "Yes, I always felt it." And she was really humbled by that experiences again, that how many men feel so much,
Mhm.
but we are not allowed to, because we are supposed to be strong and work and and be protective, and don't say anything much, and to be always ready. And so and for me, it really seems like we are gentle men, we are gentle inside, so it means in terms of energy, more yin. So many men are in, but the culture is again do ultra runs, do marathons, and do Spartan races, which is good, which is super good. Yeah, we need more of it, but we need the opposite too. We need to talk about the gentle side of the man, also feminine side of the man, but also on the opposite side. I know many women, they cannot really speak about rage, and they cannot speak about aggression, because they are not supposed to speak, in the rude way. They always should behave, and they should be mother-like, beautiful mother-like figures. But they are not many times, and in many times it happens when the first child is born. There is so much deprivation of the energy, so much deprivation of sleep, and the little child is as a parasite. It's the function as a it functions as a parasite, and it takes a lot of energy. We love the child, but still it takes a lot of energy from us and from woman a lot. And there is a lot of fantasies and a lot of fantasies and dreams. How the fantasies are about to hurt the child or hurt the husband or hurt ourselves as a woman. And but there is so much shame about it, about these fantasies. There is so much shame about to have these violent thoughts to towards our children, towards our husbands or partners or society. And when I speak to women about that, and they are allowed to speak about that, there is so much relief when they can move also, when they can pull me, push me, kick me, anything, they can really express it. They feel safe to express that and to say I feel that and I'm so embarrassed about this one. So, and it means there is so much young inside also. There's so much young, and even sometimes more than with in certain males. There's so much kind of this suppression because of the culture. It seems like, for me, my observation for many years, there is, because of the culture programming us to behave certain way, we completely suppress the essential kind of structure inside of us. And it mixed them psychologically and energetically and spiritually sometimes. And we are so confused who we are, how we should behave, what is good, what is bad. And we don't allow ourselves to speak about the inner side, you know, about the gentle side or wild animal parts, the wild, we could say wild parts, to be more wild, be more expressive, to have more fire, even dangerous fire sometimes, to and to really, for me, is to balance, to offer the practice to balancing it out according to the context of that person. That what we did last time, this be clear, get real. The get real is the context. Get real is the context which I live in. It depends if I how I want to live my life. There is no good or bad, but there is we have preferences and we have dreams and we have kind of values, and we can form to anything we want to, kind of, and it's according us, and there is not good or bad, but we just can help each other to do that as a community and co-regulate and offer certain situation to do that, offer certain structure, certain practices which can support that. Yeah.
Yes, 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 totally. And like I think one of the major contribution of somatic movement, somatic in general, but just this all new, it's not new, of course, but it's new in the context of our culture now, is
Mhm.
that, to turn our under our curiosity inside to know what we are and to be able to act according to our feelings, to our sensation, to our intuition,
Mm.
so what is giving us sensation? What is giving us a sense of right or wrong? What is giving us, this is a
Mm.
yes for that and a no for that. There's something there, and that, when we move inward toward the source of that, we comes to the very core of the I. Who is the I? I
Yeah.
am, and that moves through. I mean, for my way of seeing, it moves through matter into the source of everything. Because
Yes.
when you start to draw a line from your physical body into this, you move through many layers of reality, and you're
Yeah.
moving through the material world into something that's not material. The
Yeah.
I is not the material thing. It's not there. It's not in this reality. And so, but the thing is that the culture that we build over years and centuries and I don't know what, has totally blocked. And actually, it's not only the culture; it's the nervous system that did that
Mm. Mm.
because of
Okay.
the constant adaptation to fear
Yeah.
for your life, to fear for your safety, for the safety of your family, for the safety of the tribe, and that fear has been constantly present, I would say. So there was not any context to of safety to go inward. To go inward, you need to be safe. You can't do that when your nervous system is wired because you're in a war zone or because you're
Yeah.
stressed or because your life is threatened because of jobs, of anything that we live. You cannot access this eye because these eyes will totally always be threatened and always will have to adjust and adapt and create things, situation in order to survive. That's a little bit the ego. The ego, when we talk about the ego, is like that the very fundamental piece that needs to survive in this
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
And so it will constantly react to anything, but also block the access to this deeper sense of self and then block all the impulses and all the signals and all the information that are the creative power of what we are.
Mm.
We are creating beings. We
Yeah.
we not getting too esoteric, but we are creators of the reality we live in. But
Yeah.
these are nice words, but what the concrete reality of that? How do we access that, and how? So, and I think the for me, my experience is that this direction of trying to move through the different layers within myself rather than to try to find answers outside or just listen to the answers of other people or the culture or whatever. It's very, very, it's feeding my um the anger, the no the not the not the anger, but the the need of my ego to get nourished with to get answers, to get, okay, it's right, I'm
Yeah.
safe. So if this one has said that I can do that and I will be safe, okay, I'm doing it. But this is just like adjustment between this survival part of me. It doesn't allow a deeper connection, and it doesn't allow me to be a creative being opening my full potential.
Yeah.
um, so in continuum with Emily, Conrad was speaking about the cultural anatomy, and we mentioned cultural context, and
Yeah.
those, of course, are the layers we need to move through in order to get to the deeper level. Because
Yeah.
when you cannot see the culture within you're part of,
Mm.
and it's totally unconscious. You don't know. You have the feeling that's you, but that's not you. That's just the culture. The fact that you are considered a man to be, we expect you to be a warrior to defend your family,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what you become,
Yeah.
and that's only what you become. And then when you identify with that, then that your only identity is a warrior to defend everything around,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it doesn't give you any sense of yourself.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. But it's very helpful for survival, and we are
Yeah.
still in this stage of
Yeah. Yeah. True. True. It's not easy to live this ordinary reality in the village or in the city and to do otherwise sometimes, right? Like to become and to know to become kind of normalized by behavior and to be recognized by neighbors and to coworkers. It's not easy to really go deeper in order to communicate with other people. So I know there is sense of fear also, and there is a sense of confusion sometimes. And I know it's not always easy to integrate it, but I think it's possible that to live this opposite polarity parts of us, to be grounded and to behave in a certain cultural way, which it's more grounded, yeah. And then, but inside we can really have a very deep spiritual life, and we don't have to even talk about it, but we can experience that in the other stuff, in the other kind of part of us, or in the dreams, or in our fantasies, or just inside of us, deep inside of us, that we have this inner dialogue and the deeper sense of us. And I know this one happened to me, and years ago, and still like it was happening that year by year, that I had a lot of also female visions, or to be female visions, or experiences. When I went to South America, to Peru, and I was with this curandero, and we were doing these ayahuasca rituals, and different plant rituals and meditations, and it was very strange how deep, not visions for me, but it was more deep experiences of to be female. It was not vision anymore. It was very physical. It was very physical. It was all it contains, everything. And I don't say I'm not ignorant enough, or to say like I know what females are experiencing. I don't know, because I have got this body. I don't know, but it brought me more empathy to females, what they have to go through, and how it is to be female and to give birth. I can not, I never can say I know what it's like, but I can have a little sense of it through these deep meditations or rituals, which are kind of mixing everything together. There is something dissolved, which we don't know who we are, if male or female. It doesn't matter anymore. There is only consciousness having different experiences. And for me, it was very profound experiences to have to be a mother, also to have these mother-like feelings, deep mother-like feelings, and losing children, many children, and to feel this heartbreak, of the female losing all children, for example. And it was super. Uh, it was beautiful in the way, but it was heartbreaking, super heartbreaking, and many different visions I had, and I it brought me more to female energies, and brought more to archetypes of females as a Kali, maybe Kali principle, which is also motherhood principle, which have two sides, opposite sides. One is more this wild one with the tongue and skulls, and the knives and swords and everything, kind of scary picture for our own culture in Slovakia or in Europe. But in India, is very common picture on the streets. It's common. But there is many people don't know that Kali has got two sides. That Kali has also this very gentle mother-like figure. Also, this is her opposite, to have a kind of like Mary figure in our society. Uh, this breastfeeding mother, all giving, just receiving, separate of the universe, but giving and giving. And I know that Buddhists, monks, they're really meditating on these archetypes, like to really embody this motherness inside of them, to be able to have a compassion for themselves, but for others. So they can practice martial arts, they can practice swords, and they can practice punches, and they can be brutal in their practice, but when they sit, they practice motherhood. And it's, for me, it's interesting paradox of the practice, to paradox the art and the art of touch, art of healing, because there are many of them that are beautiful healers at the same time. But then, other hand, they know how to kill. They know how to break the bones if they need to. If they need to, but they allow themselves to experience the both polarities. And I like Chogyam Trungpa books, or his teaching. He was the crazy wisdom monk. He was the first one who was teaching in English the Buddhist tradition. and I like him because he's very paradoxical guy. I according me, and he was talking a lot about this motherhood in the practice. He was talking about enjoy and sex and money and to be ordinary and to have to be grounded and to be male and female, but just to be grounded. But really deep inside, it was practice of the motherhood. It was the female practice a lot, which is basic of the compassion practice, of the basic stone of this reality, kind of. And it's very strange to go to the gym and work uh, on more fractal way, more to be in the Slovak gym, and you have to really go linear, to you have to smash the weights and do this, and to move there for me as a man, and to move in a more liquid fractal way, it's super strange. But it's and even it, I think men when they see it, they fear it.
Mhm.
Like, why, why the hell you move this way? It's strange. Move this way and that way. This is proper male movement, not this one. But I know many people who practice Tai Chi or Systema or this and that, like more liquid practices of martial art. They experience this one in the gyms. It feels so strange, but yeah, it is as it is, and I like it, and I like it. But for many men, it's a strange idea to uh, invite this female practice, female energies to the practice of the strength, because there is so much strength in the female. There's so much strength in the working with the gravity, with the release, with the really letting go, with the death principle. There is so much power to release and then go. Release and go with the gravity and then go to the opposite. Then still holding, and go from this side and trying to build it up. But we need to go for sure. We call it recovery
Mhm.
to sleep and rest and take a nap. Yeah, but really to release the muscles, release our body with the gravity to really let go. This is not very common, and I see this one as a female principle, which is super useful for strength also.
Yeah, that, like somatically, for instance, that's really interesting to see. So it's not to identify this or that with this or that, but it's more
Yeah,
like what are the quality of my strength, for instance, biologically.
yeah,
For instance, and to me, when I experience the blood quality, the
yeah,
cellular blood quality,
yeah,
that feels very much like a young male activation. That's where I feel more my masculinity. And when I'm in the lymph, for instance,
mm,
which is everything at once, you know
yeah,
it's everything, but it's so powerful, and it can move. That's the for me, for my kind of sensing, is that energy that stop the car when the child is crossing the road and the mother just is protecting. It's kind of this huge moment in time that's absolutely powerful, that the blood would not be able to do that. The blood will be able to have the endurance to run for kilometers and kilometers and kilometers, and to have the strength and to keep it going
yeah,
and to go to the end of it. The blood is doing, this kind of is doing that. And so that's really interesting to experience that, for instance,
mm,
somatically. So in
mm,
a way, your identity can get a sense of that, or get a sense of that, or get a sense of many different in between also. Because
mm,
something interesting with polarities is that maybe they are the end of something, but then the movement that connect them is neither this or neither that. It's always a combination. It's always
yeah,
flavor. It's always a template of all those possible combination. And I think as a human experience, why are we here in a physical body? What do we want to experience that? It's a question. I don't know, but
Yeah,
maybe, could be.
could be. Yeah, anything. And it would be wonderful, definitely, to experience this one somatically because I never was experiencing blood and lymph and change. I would love to. I would love to uh, have a dive on this one. But also, when I was thinking, when I was watching this Dr. Jim Tail, send you the link, or Jaap van der Waal about this embryology. They've It's also part of the craniosacral work, and but also martial arts work, working with the gravity and levitation forces. And I really I would love to experience this one more in the when we meet, and maybe talk about that more. Maybe now, if you could share your experience with the gravity and levitation forces in our cells or bones or muscles, how continuum, for example, because I know continuum is wonderful work for working with the gravity, right, or working with the levitational forces. How could you put them in the opposition, like gravity and levitation forces? Could there be part of these opposites, polarities?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about the polarities, but definitely what happened with the gravitational field and our, let's say, the ecosystem of the planet is
Mhm.
based on um, mineral and water and air and fire, and fire. But we are beings of earth, like minerals and water. We are, and so the best way to understand this relation to gravity is to just watch water behavior and to
Yeah.
see that water behavior is really weird. It doesn't it does the Newtonian kind of
Yeah.
principle don't apply.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it can go in many and so that's a
But
really
it can when we see just when it rains, All right,
yes,
this is the Newtonian, but there is more to it, right?
there's more to it. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So the properties and the behavior of water, it's very contextual. It can shape shift. It can change its identity. I would say it changes its identity, whether it's ice, whether it's steam, whether it's a cloud, whether it's running water, whether it's an ocean. It has very different identities, I would say, and it's the best shapeshifter, I would say, in this world, on the planet.
Mhm.
So when we start to tune in the water system, which is the fluid body that we call the fluid body in continuum, we can tune into these different identities, and and so something that's really interesting is to see that we can shift our density when we are in this fluid body. The density of our own body is shifting.
Mm.
It's shifting to a different relationship to gravity, meaning that the constant attraction suddenly is neutralized. It's like the 0 point, that the same
Mhm.
thing when you have a polarity and you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's free.
Mm.
It's free of everything. So it's not bound to something. And gravity is our bound to the planet. If there would not be gravity, we'd be flying in the cosmos. So we
Yeah.
need to have gravity to belong. We need to have gravity to stay here. And everything in our physiology is organized around gravity. The verticality is because of gravity.
Mm. Mm.
So gravity is the main reference point. It's our ground. That's why we are here. If gravity wasn't there, we wouldn't be here in this particular time and space.
Yeah.
So it's holding a constant, we need to be stable. We need to have to create a reality. I mean, the universe is complex, but to create a reality, it needs to have stability.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's kind of everything is everywhere around all consciousness. It's a mess. It's chaotic. So you need a stabilizing agent,
Yeah.
and that's gravity. That's gravity gives us a sense of linearity, a sense of time, a sense of space, a sense of ourself. It's a really the I would say probably the first existential reference that we can have in a body, in a physical body.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the universe is more complex because we can shift that relationship. And most probably, um, we'll see what the next level for our own development. I'm not talking next year or 100 years from now, but you know, few thousand million years, maybe the life on the planet will have probably a very different relationship to gravity,
Mm.
for instance.
Possible. Yeah.
Possible.
Yeah. Could be levitational force kind of just another quality of the gravity.
It's a polarity of it for me. It's
Yeah.
when you in continuum, it's when you get into it, at some point you feel like maybe a little part of yourself will be in relationship to feel the support from gravity, but everything else will rise up, like
Mm.
almost like it's an anti-gravity, opposite polarized kind of movement.
Mm.
So, and it's very strange because you're not particularly looking for it. You're not lifting your body up. It's
Yeah.
just happening that you start to express that the cellular world start to express itself being not bound by the entropy of gravity.
Mm.
And Emily talked a lot about that, for instance, that um, gravity and entropy are kind of similar. It's a kind of deterioration, and that's how we in the popular world we say, we all come back to dust. We all come
Yeah.
back to the
Yeah.
grave, and that's the movement. The movement, we rise up from the ground, we rise up above, and we come back to the ground.
It's the
It's a
wave.
kind of it's a wave, exactly. So for in the world of continuum and in the vision of Emily and in what we are doing, it's that we don't want to be bound by this entropy, or we don't want to be bound by gravity,
Yeah.
because maybe what we are is more than that.
Yeah. Uh,
But we have to discover it, and we have
yeah.
to experience it in order to build it.
Mm.
And that comes with the developmental movement.
All right.
The developmental movement, they happen because of gravity. That's where we calibrate the physiology and the physical body with gravity in the very early age,
Mhm.
and something that I find really interesting is that when we are in the belly of our mother, in the water,
Mhm.
we have those developmental movement. We can reach, we can grab, we can pull, but when we're born, we lose them. We don't know how to do it. So
All right.
the fact that we move from a fluid environment, so water, into an atmosphere that has much more gravity, we lose that, and we need 8 months, 9 months in order to start to feel the push, to have the reach, to have the grasp, all these different
Mm.
global movement that are needed for our construction, physiological construction. And those 8, 9 months are only about experiencing in BMC,
Yeah.
Bonnie Babichko, and she speaks about yielding, which is giving up into gravity. So we
Mhm.
need all those months to calibrate for
Mhm.
the cellular physiology to calibrate to gravity in order to land and arrive here
Mm.
on the
Mm.
planet.
Mm.
And I think that's fascinating.
It is. Yeah. I think. I don't know if it's yielding. This is hard to translate in Slovak, but it's also hard to talk about and how to kind of make make conclusion. What is it? But what I experienced in teaching of Alexander Soloviev, he's martial artist and he's more fighter. He's not really healer. He's from, background of police and army and special forces. So his archetype is more warrior and policeman and to kill, as fast as possible. Special forces. They are not really mother-like figures, and they don't care about therapy. But many people around him who experience the principles he's working with, and I know that when we questioned him in Vienna about his path, he said like during the long years in the police and army, he met many interesting people along his way. And Russia is kind of mixture of Europe and Asia kind of principles, and they kind of got something there. I don't know. We have little information what they do in Russia, but I really like. It's fascinating what this Alexander Soloviev is doing with the gravity, with the letting go and identity. It's really very psychological work, and they use it in interaction, and it's super nice to feel. It's super nice to feel when he can explain it through his body to you and his students. You can experience on yourself, and then you learn it, and you can share it, and you can experience it together with someone. It's super nice, super deep, super nice, super hard to explain and to teach. It takes yeah, it takes time. I am trying to teach it for some years, but I see it takes really strong practice and ability to teach it, to transmit it, really. But it's beautiful, beautiful practice, and I see there is masculine figure learning this gravitational, very feminine practice, and I see there is so much baby-like developmental movements there. I think there is so much basics biomechanics as babies, working with the pelvis, working with the ground, falling down. The training is very developmental. There is not so much like you have to tug your pelvis and do qigong or yoga. There's nothing because kids don't tug the pelvis. They don't tend to do that. They release. They really release the psoas, they release the muscles, and when they fall, they just go with it. Just there is so much force in that natural biomechanics going with to be friend with the gravity. When they're learning to walk and climb, and they really go with it. When they hold the fingers, I think also when they hold the fingers and you can feel the connection to the pelvis, and then the force, is such a strong force.
Mhm.
And the martial arts, they work with this force because it's so powerful, and it is in the kids. And I think it doesn't have to be restricted only for men, but it's for family. I think it could be family practice, and this is kind of our aim, or definitely my aim. And I know some of my friends that to bring these practices further to the family systems, to men and female, and man and woman and child, and friends, and to play with martial arts. We don't need to be dangerous. We need to just learn to be dangerous, to know how to be, and then not to be, because when we are connected with these polarities of this in us, to know how to work with a dangerous situation, how to be dangerous for someone, then we will not be, because we know how to integrate it, and then this is how we create more environment without fear.
Mhm.
So this is working with the fear, to touch the fear, to go to the fear, to play with the fear. It's scary place, but this is kind of opportunity to really uh, soften the membrane between these two polarities, to work with this fear in the nice way. Don't push too much, but don't sleep too much. Also with the safety, in the safety. too much, just to play with it. So this is like, I think it would be wonderful to explore together. Also, working with the gravity and levitation, but also with interaction and biomechanics. It would be wonderful to see how we can kind of bridge it together, these developmental movements and having fun together somehow. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, in the polyvagal theory from Stephen Porges, there is this really wonderful explanation of how to move away from the reactive defensive mechanism, physiological mechanism of the body.
yeah,
We use play, we play. And so we can engage the social engagement system, and
yeah.
that create a totally different environment for the nervous
Mm,
system to thrive rather than to be only in the defensive mode.
mm,
So playing is a huge asset, and that's probably what why mammals are playing all the time. Like when you look at a
yeah,
kitty cat or a kitty dog, or no, not a kitty
yeah.
dog, but small any babies
Any,
mammals, they just play
yeah,
because they calibrate their system in order to be able to defend themselves if they need. And when the cat need, if the cat doesn't do that, it won't be able to survive outside if it needs to be in the wild or to climb trees or something. So it needs to develop the strengths, but yet it's through play. It's not like it's like totally locked in fear. And
yeah,
same for us.
yeah. This is beautiful. I think the dimension of play. There's so much potential in that for us these days. I know exactly to 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 calibrate that more. And I think also this is happening also in a MMA environment when people are like professional fighters, they have got enough of the stress. Many of them, there is so much. It's very popular UFC and all these fights and stuff, and but that is good in a way, but themselves they speak. It's hard for them because they're super stressed in the system because the training, all the sparring, all the kicking and hitting is just too much for them because they cannot sleep well, they cannot relax well because there is too much stress. Everyday training, kicking, full force is not helpful for them. And they speak about the play more, soft play. Really, just go and play as a eating in Cuba. In Cuba, and they're the best boxing nation in the world. In the world, but when they trade, like Cuba boxers, they more play with the rhythm and they just do as a kind of dancing and they just touch gently. Or in Thailand, it's also they can be very brutal, in the kicking force like Muay Thai. But when they train, they touch and play and it's dancing more and they adapt, and when there is the real fight, they go in full force. But when in the training, they don't want to harm themselves, they really take care of each other and themselves. There is good self-care. And I like to see that this self-care is more in MMA, like men speak about this one, this gentle side, really. We need more self-care. Not stop. We are not going to stop that. We are going to just bring more self-care and more care for each other, you know, and bring more martial arts to the front, but really invite people to that with the play. And it's not about the kicking and choking. And it's not about that. It's just calibrate to these days to be really more playful together. Not only men with men, but men with women. And women with men don't because women could be they're scared sometimes to interact with men. Because we are not so strong, we are not so this and that, and you're stronger. But my experience is opposite. They're so strong. Like women are so strong in the terms of muscles. Super strong when they allow themselves to be. So this I would love to also just to address this one, this interplay of people could bring more freedom and lightness to the society.
Yeah. Yeah, there is one last thing, maybe, after we kind of end this call, but is that with any interaction, and especially when it becomes physical, meaning that the nervous system is in play, it will meet the cellular memory
Yeah.
of the person. And I think what's very important to know is that cellular memory is the main uh, map, or the main picture for how our nervous system is wired, how it's
Yeah.
reacting, how it's behaving.
Yeah.
And so, with the now, what I can really differentiate is that we have our own map from this lifetime, where we were born, or even when we were conceived. We have that cellular memory that will be playing with any interaction, physical interaction,
Mm.
with touch. It will just be there. So all the trauma that happen, or that we have incorporated, and that were treated by the nervous system like trauma, meaning put aside,
Mm.
it's going to be there. And not only that, we will also have our lineage. So I would say, the kind of DNA memory of our parents, grandparents, and the full lineage will also be connected to that.
Mm.
And not only that, we will also have our own psychic memories that can be triggered, that comes from whatever other dimension we come
Uh,
from. And so it's a cocktail.
it is,
It's a
yes.
cocktail, and it's very important to take those in consideration, because you can meet those sensations, memories, or things, and you don't know where they come from, you don't know what they
Yeah.
are, you don't know what to do with them. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity to integrate them and be aware of what we are, where we come from, and what we are about to transmute.
Yes.
Because ultimately, when we want to evolve, when we want to grow our potential, we need to transform our nervous system, which is the main processor. I mean, of course, we have the cellular intelligence, which is huge, but it's building up also this electrical system.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very much of an interface between our spirit and our physical body. So
Yeah.
it's key. It's very key. So we need to, yeah, you start to be really enlightened, Martin.
Enlighten, it's coming to me. We need to finish. It's
It's
taking me.
kind of beautiful, like you kind of see you into
Ah.
the multi-dimensional kind of.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. So this is so
Yeah.
there are layers, and we need to be aware that they are there, and it's not in our image. It's not an imagination. It's because it's very real when you live them, and so naming, it's a function of the nervous system to integrate experiences and to build up consciousness.
Yeah.
So I think that's to know that with all these interaction we will meet these different um, experiences or memories, or whatever, I don't know how you want to call it, but we will meet that. And so what I like to think when we do this type of activities
Yeah.
collectively, like when we meet for a retreat or for a workshop,
Yeah.
what we do is that we meet those memories for ourselves, but we meet also those memories for the field in general, for the human field. And so we are kind of agent of transformation and transmutation. And
Yeah.
I like that a little bit better than to think that it's a therapy, or it's something. It's more like we create an opportunity, a safe, framework so we can make that more conscious. And we
Mm.
need to be very careful. We need to go as much as we can. We need to, we need to build it slowly and build the trust, because that's only with trust, and out of fear that we are able to transmute that. So
Yeah.
it's really not about creating more fear or more things or more that. So the whole thing that we want to do is to bring that space of safety. So when we meet those memories, and sometimes we don't, sometimes we can really go into a wonderful,
Mm.
very hormonal and very, a kind of
Yeah.
and creative,
Yeah.
uh, sense of a wonderful experience, you know. But there is this other component that is actually a wonderful opportunity, but has to be very careful and with a lot of awareness.
Yeah, sure. It's for sure it happens. There's a lot of joy, a lot of fun, a lot of pleasant feelings. It can be, but definitely there can be it can be triggering many things, and we need to have a setting definitely to take care of introduction and contract and really take care of the field and yeah, all things you said. All things you said, I think is all about to be cautious, to be present, to be present. Don't don't be afraid, but don't push too much at the same time.
Yeah, it's just know, it's about knowing oneself. It's about everything we do. It's about, for me, it's I want to know this I want to know myself. I want to know where I come from, what I am, why I'm
Yeah,
here. And so it comes through this, but I cannot, you know, meeting the monster in me might not be the best entrance at first. It
yeah,
need to, it need to, and
yeah,
probably
yeah,
there is a monster in me, like in any, you know, in any thing in this universe. And I'm
yeah.
just saying a monster not as a negative something, but just something that's really weird, or that just can be very violent, or can be very, just overwhelming, or just really strange or foreign.
It can be very yeah surrounded by shame, but also dangerous, and we need to be really cautious about this one. How we talk about this one, and I think it's all about scale. It's all about scale, about how we approach these energies, and sometimes it's enough just to mention them, and that's all. That's all, and don't go even further. And but when people just want to move a little bit more, push more, pull, or anything, just explore this, it's enough, and then we can go further and further. If it's you know if it feels right for us, if it feels right for us to go, and if it doesn't feel right, there is no need to go there. Just it really needs to feel right. Yeah, I want to do that. It feels safe, and I feel there is something good there for me. There must be that. Yeah, there is something good about it. There is something at the end I want to experience. And I know there is a lot of humor, and there is a lot of joy, and then there is a lot of kind of opening the space,
Yeah.
kind of the things. I wouldn't do it otherwise, but definitely there is all. It's all about the scaling this thing, all about the setting. Fantastic. Looking forward for that. Yeah,
Yes, 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 yes.
yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvain.
Thank you, Martin.